Hi there, everyone. Sean here. Welcome back to the third part of this YouTube series about money. Our video today is the history of money part 2. As we concluded part 1, we were talking about the first coins that were created. The first coins were made in ancient China around 1000 BC and were made of bronze. The use of coins began to spread around the area and became a very common form of money due to the significant improvements over barter and other early forms of money. We ended on the importance of scarcity and how poor choice in what the money is made out of can have an impact on its success as a currency. We'll pick up from there now. Let's get started. Over this period from 1000 BC to about 700 AD, use of coinage as money became increasingly popular across the world. Many geographies had multiple currencies, and currencies failed frequently. New forms of coins were popping up and failing shortly after, all the time. Around 700 AD began what is now known as the Islamic Golden Age. This was one of the first times throughout history where an expansive economy throughout a large geographic area all traded with one strong currency. The dinar, weighing 4.25 grams of gold, was the currency across the medieval Islamic world, a vast area that covered from northern Africa up into today's Middle East, through Persia, and down all the way towards India. Pegged to a metal like gold, which is much more scarce than metals like copper or bronze, the currency supply was not able to be artificially inflated, and the economy thrived as a result. Gold had been used as a currency prior to the Islamic Golden Age, but this is the first time where it was used at such a scale. The earliest forms of banking that we still use today were created during this time. Credit as a monetary concept, checks, places where you could save money similar to savings accounts, and loans began to be popularized during this period. Moving west toward Europe, the first form of the British pound was created at a similar point in history. Named the Anglo-Saxon pound, it was equal in weight to 1 pound of silver. Now, the Anglo-Saxon pound was not a coin in itself. It was just a form of measurement to price goods, or a unit of account. The actual coins that circulated during this time were pence and shillings. 12 pence equaled 1 shilling, and 20 shillings equaled 1 Anglo-Saxon pound. At the time, these were made of pure silver. In 1158, silver coins were changed to be 92.5% silver. This is because pure silver is a bit soft for a currency, and England wanted to make it a bit harder to be able to withstand circulation. This was called sterling silver, a metal and term that we still use today, and thus was born the pound sterling, which is still the official name of the British pound today. English currency was entirely silver through 1344, at which point the first English gold coin, the noble, joined silver coins in circulation. Silver continued to be the basis for the pound all the way until 1816. At that point, though, it became gold. Taking a look now into the history of paper money reveals that its history goes back much further than a lot of you may think. The earliest forms of banknote guarantees go all the way back to early 7th century China, although it wasn't until the 11th century that true paper money began circulating in the form that we think about today. The idea for paper money came from the desire to prevent the need to carry around the bulk that comes with copper coins. Copper is an abundant metal, and it's not very rare. It might require 5 pounds of copper to buy something that would cost 1 pound of silver. As paper money continued to develop, it was always valued at a certain price of a commodity. Besides copper, as mentioned earlier, silk was another common good in China used to back paper money. The longest lasting paper currencies were always backed by something scarce, like gold or silver. Now, paper monies have always failed throughout history so far, because eventually the government or issuing body decides to print money beyond the peg that they establish, and hyperinflation occurs. China eliminated paper money entirely in 1455 and wouldn't adopt it again for several hundred years. The concept of paper money at all was brought to England and Europe through the accounts of travelers like Marco Polo. They would sail around the world and, upon their return, speak of these economic systems and forms of money that they saw. The system of money that we use today is known as a fiat money system. Fiat money has no intrinsic value. It's not convertible, nor does it represent any amount of any good. All that it is backed by is government declaration. Fiat money allows for the complete control over the money supply. The government and money supply is no longer restricted by the reserves of some assets such as gold. This allows for the use of monetary policy as a tool to help the economy. The system is typically controlled either by the government directly or through a central bank. So, how does a system like this work if in the previous slide I said that paper money has consistently failed throughout history? Well, essentially, politicians and economists have determined that by having studied what has happened throughout history, and given the advancements in technology and the sheer amount of data that we have now, we can carefully manage a money supply with no backing in a way that can prevent hyperinflation. One of the Federal Reserve's two mandates in the US is to manage inflation. Does this work? Maybe, but frankly, it's too early to answer that question. The US dollar as its own currency has only really existed for 50 years. Before that, when we were on the gold standard, the dollar was just a proxy for a certain amount of gold. What that means is that the dollar today and the system that goes along with it is a relatively recent invention, and it's too early to consider it a definite success. So that concludes our very basic history of money, but there are still some themes throughout this history that we'll explore in more detail over the next two videos. We'll take a closer look into gold, why it has been valuable for so long, and why it still is valuable today. And we'll also do a deeper dive into how our system today works. There are many good things that a well-managed fiat money system allows an economy to do, but there are also negative trade-offs that are inherent to the system that the average person very likely does not know about. So, thank you for watching, everyone. I will see you all in the next video.